episode of the Radical Measures podcast. We've got a very interesting guest for all of you today. Sahil, welcome to the show. It's great to have a musician and a foodie in that chair.
Thank you.
We've got Amaya Mahale, one of our producers, also a fan of the band Demonic Resurrection that Sahil is a part of. So let's see. Sahil, welcome. First things first, I have been following you. Amaya has been following your work for a long time as well. He's found out about you through Burger Wars, one of the things that you did. And that was one of the wars that we were really excited about. We were like, yes, this is something that I would like.
There are no losers in this war.
Yes.
For sure.
As far as Burger Wars are concerned, I mean, at least we win. Because avoiding a bad burger really helps. So, your journey with creating content when it comes to food has been quite a long journey and quite a diverse journey, right? So, you've been on YouTube with food for more than 10 years?
Yeah, about 10 years.
About 10 years, close to 10 years. And what brought on the first thing of just, hey, I want to share something when it comes to food on YouTube?
So I think food has always been like a passion of mine. Like when I was in school, I wanted to actually be a chef.
Oh yeah?
That was my career goal when I was, I think, 11 or 12 years old. That's about the age I started cooking. I actually took cooking as a hobby in school.
Okay.
But then life kind of derailed all those plans. But food is kind of something that you don't really give up on, because if you like to eat, you like to eat, you know.
Yeah.
So I always continued to cook, and even when I was like organizing metal shows in the city and bands would stay at my house, I would make breakfast for them, omelets, and I got a bit of a reputation, for my cooking. And I think around 2007, when Facebook had really just sort of started and taken off, and I think I had got my first phone with a camera.
Okay. Oh really? The Curve 6600.
I had the the Sony W810i, I think.
Oh, okay.
And I was just cooking dinner one evening because I cooked most of my own food, and I took a picture of it and I put the recipe up on Facebook, and I think that was officially the first piece of content I created with food. And this was about 2007.
Okay.
And I just did this as and when I thought I was eating something interesting. And around, I think 2009, 2010 is when YouTube had actually started to get some traction in India. I was watching a lot of YouTube. I was watching cooking shows like Epic Mealtime, if you've ever heard of them.
They make those massive...
Yeah, they used to make those massive pieces of like food and like giant pizza, burger, put a duck in a turkey and put the turkey in a pig and cover the pig in bacon and cook it.
We should watch that.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
So I was watching a lot of that stuff, and also like these American barbecue pit boys who were doing like roast pig and all sorts of like meaty treats, So that was sort of inspiring me to cook a lot more than I was and experiment with food. And that was also the time that Demonic Resurrection made its first music video.
Oh,
okay.
So between all this, I was like, you know what, maybe I should film my cooking and put it on YouTube. It seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
So I spoke to Srinivas Sundarajan, who was the director of the first music video we did. He's also a very successful filmmaker now. He's done TV shows like The Duelist and all.
Okay.
So he said, I don't mind filming for you, but let's not just do a boring recipe video. And everyone's doing that.
Yeah.
Let's make a show out of it of some sort, so it's interesting. And that's kind of how HeadBanger's Kitchen in its first avatar was born, where I cooked a dish inspired by a heavy metal band who I would later interview on the show, and then they would taste the food. And that's how the whole thing got started.
There is a segment in that show where you choose a particular song or you try to integrate aspects of that song in what you're cooking.
Yeah.
Just to show a reflection of the band or, the work into what you're cooking for them. So, what was the first recipe that you did with that thought in mind? And what were some of the fun songs to do, and what are some of the how do I convert this or reflect something of that in the food?
So actually I didn't give it that much thought.
Okay.
The idea was just to have some element of the band in the recipe, in the name, rather than anything else.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
and use the band's music in the song. So you're kind of promoting the band's music. You're giving, like, because if people watch the show and they don't know the band, they're hearing the soundtrack in the show.
In the show.
So the first band I interviewed was Nerve Cell from Dubai, and I used a couple of their tracks as just background music. So like, you take a chopping section and speed it up to go along with the music. So it was more of like a edit thing, not really like how can I integrate the song into the into the show, like as a more creative way, which other YouTubers did later. There was a vegan black metal chef who basically sang out the recipe to black metal music and he had corpse paint and all these huge knives and all that. So there were people who definitely did that in a creative way, but for what I did, it was more like a add-on to the show to give it the feel rather than be like a creative part of the show.
All right. You were asking me about something, Amaya, regarding...
So back then, I'll give you like a small description of how the scene was from my perspective as like a 17, 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Okay, so I used to think of the metal community now. It's sort of like the Parsi community. Like there are a couple hundred of us, okay? And when you go to a particular gig, you see the same faces and it's like there's this unspoken bond between everyone in the scene because it's like a small, closely knit community. And this was pre-Facebook, pre-social media and everything. So whenever there was a gig or something, it's all word of mouth. You might see a flyer outside. So I used to go to Xavier's at the time. So there used to be a flyer outside a college and everything used to happen on SMS and word of mouth. So there was this metal scene had a vibe to it. It was a very special thing because word of mouth se jo scene banta hai na, that is a different thing, like sort of like an underground thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've always wondered. So now obviously we're much older and we don't frequent gigs as much. And we maybe little bit, at least I have moved away from the scene a little bit. I always wonder what is the scene like, what is the metal scene in India like now, post social media, post Spotify, like how has it changed? Like are young kids nowadays even listening to metal in India? Like how has it changed?
Yeah, it's actually pretty much the same. It's just that instead of putting flyers outside college, you get tagged on Facebook. Yeah, you get like, that's the thing, right? Like you came into the metal scene during your college years and like you said, you moved out of the scene and your social circle is different, and that's literally what's been happening every 5 years. And like that's literally what I've watched, right from the pre social media days to today. It's the same thing. It's just the scale of it has changed a bit. One of the things that has actually really changed is the fact that when you were probably in the scene, there wasn't much else to do. Today you have comedy, you've got music has itself sort of spread out. Like earlier it was rock and metal was all clubbed together. Sure, there were metal only shows and things like that, but largely rock and metal was one thing, whether you were watching bands at iRock or at Mood Indigo or at NH7 also when they started out, it was largely rock and metal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now rock, what's rock? Because rock music was largely classic rock cover bands who now they're still there, a few of them, but they largely play weddings and tribute nights and things like that. Metal bands, probably we've got like double the amount of bands that there were earlier. But the fan base, because it's a rotating sort of fan base, like every 5 years kids come into the scene, listen to metal, they grow out of it or they move abroad or their social circle is largely non-metal people. They don't frequent shows as much. So you'll still find like a group of 20 or 30 people who are in the 30 years and above category. But the rest of it is all under 30 and, people who rotate every 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
That's the unfortunate part of, the music scene here.
But,
so, yeah.
That is...
As a musician, so as a creative professional, I would think the best case scenario for a musician is to be able to earn money from what you like to do. Like if you're a heavy metal musician or if you're or a video creator, whatever, the most ideal situation is I should be able to like pay my bills and make money from this. So post the entire internet thing where probably like musicians and bands have more access to maybe an international audience because maybe metal is not that commercially viable in India. Like has that changed in any way? Has that like opened more doors for musicians, not just metal, but in general? Has that changed in the last 10 years or so?
Well, it's changed for one band, but not for most bands, because again, we talk about, oh, the international market has potential, but remember this, like if you just look at Norway, for example.
Okay.
Norway probably has like 40,000 metal bands,
Yeah.
and you are trying to break into their market with music that is more common there than it is here. So you're playing their music. It's like trying to make a Bollywood film in the US and then trying to break through in Bombay.
Yeah.
You have to bring something new to the table. So
Correct.
there is one band called BloodyWood who has sort of been able to merge Indian influences with metal in a way that is marketable and that is sort of commercially viable outside India. Like when a Western person thinks of India, they want to hear something that is Indian metal. BloodyWood has kind of found what that sound is. And they are the one band right now that is actually touring to sold out venues in the US, in the UK, Europe, and they look like they'll be the one band that maybe actually makes a living.
Oh.
But for all the other bands that want to play music that they enjoy, and that's not in that space, they're all just fighting for that same piece of the pie that that all those foreign bands are doing. And for those guys, they get into a van and they can tour Europe or tour America. We have to get visas for 5 people, tickets for 5 people. Then you have to hope you get an offer to tour there. Nowadays, if you want to like support a big band, you're paying 10 to 15,000 euros just to play that tour. So it's not possible. Also, we forget that in India, people who play metal music are all middle class or slightly above. So the lifestyle that you're trying to match is already a high income bracket, which you're not going to get even when you tour abroad, because a lot of metal musicians abroad are working minimum wage jobs. They are like Lamb of God, one of the biggest metal bands today. They were construction workers. No Indian is going to come back and stay in a like a slum or a shanty and then do construction work on the side. That is like most of the metal musicians, you have to be of a certain privileged class to even afford a guitar.
Correct.
So the economics, the whole thing is quite skewed, not in our favor. Until we are able to build an audience in India that is large enough to actually sustain this middle class lifestyle, no metal band is going to be able to sort of do it.
It's an uphill battle.
Yeah.
So I had this analogy, look, tell me if it's relevant. Okay, so if you see hip hop music, okay, so before something like a Gully Boy came along, there have been a lot of artists sort of building the scene since many years. Maybe there is no money like currently, but then one sort of catalyst like comes along and it sort of explodes,
Changes everything.
at least earlier only the top 5% were making money. Now the top 15-20% make money. So like people like Sahil have been making the metal band since many years. Like, do you think in a place like India, is that like a possibility? Do you see with your experience that is it missing some sort of like one thing that can make a difference to make it more like commercially viable?
No, the thing with hip hop is hip hop transcends the economic barriers.
Right.
Hip hop is not a privileged person's music. You don't need to buy a guitar, drum set, bass, nothing. You need your mouth and you need
Lyrics.
That's it.
Right.
Hip hop also, as a language, whatever language you're singing in, it connects with a wider audience. With rock and metal, even when you change the language and you sing in Hindi and all, it does not have the same effect. It just does not translate the same way. Also, hip hop as a sound is more accessible. Like heavy metal music, by just the sound of that distorted guitar, the drums, the screaming vocals, it doesn't connect with the same
It's
number
a taste
of people.
thing.
So you're automatically making yourself more and more niche, and there's no way around it. Like if you want to stay true to the music, that's what you got to do. Like you can see even Rock On and all, their success is very limited. In the fact, yes, they spawned like a gazillion Hindi rock bands, but again, Hindi rock bands have the same problem that metal bands have, maybe a little bit less, but it's still largely the same thing, that Western sound. Whereas hip hop, all those beats have been like slowly coming in through Bollywood and indie pop music, and they've already sort of become part of the music that is being listened to by most people.
What I'm gathering from this is there's still metal bands and all have to discover an Indian way of playing, like somewhere that which the band that you mentioned, this
BloodyWood.
BloodyWood.
See, the thing is, as Indians, what is really Indian to us, right?
Huh.
Like, for me, I'm a Sindhi.
Huh.
Punjabi music is as alien to me as is Marathi folk music, as is Bengali music, as is Carnatic music. I have really no, like, there's no authentic Indian to me, right?
Correct. Huh.
What is Indian?
Huh.
Every state over here has a different cuisine,
True.
a different music, a different language.
Hmm.
So it's like when white people want to find out what is Indian food.
Huh.
Now they only know North Indian food half the time because it's butter chicken or whatever, right?
Correct. Huh.
So BloodyWood is the equivalent, and I mean this in a good way.
Huh.
They are the butter chicken of music.
Huh.
Hmm.
Okay.
But technically butter chicken is not representative of all Indian food, right?
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the same with Indian metal music. What is Indian metal music? So we had some Hindustani classical in one of our albums, but it's extreme death metal, blast beats. The Indian instruments were there to just accent certain things where they made sense.
Huh.
So unless a band has a very genuine connection to their roots and they are able to put that into the music, you can't really make it Indian, right?
Huh.
Yeah.
True.
So that's the other thing. Like for me, I grew up in such a Western atmosphere. I grew up eating tuna salad, roast chicken, pasta. For me, dal chawal is like exotic food half the time.
Okay.
So cultural influence matters, of course. It makes a huge difference in terms of what your taste is when it comes to food, music, and a lot of other experiences. And if you are trying to just make it sound Indian, I'm pretty sure people will be easily able to see through it.
You need conviction. You need to do it with a genuine intent. It has to come naturally. Half of us here are fighting against Indian culture. That is why we play metal. Because we don't relate to that. Like for me, as a non-religious person, my music is the big FU to all the bad things about
Yeah.
Like just for context, a lot of like old metal bands, they're very political and they're very vocal in their like Megadeth and stuff. You heard their lyrics and everything is very
Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
There's plenty of like punk and metal that is political. There are some that are satanic. There are some that are anti-religious. There are some that are pro-religion.
Yeah.
There's a metal song for every festive occasion.
Yeah, but the idea is the theme you get to see is stand up against the man, so as to speak, right? Like it's standing up against an institution or an establishment, or it has an essence of an underdog tone that you end up relating to in a way that it is able to encapsulate that sense of rebellion that I'm just going to be myself.
Yeah, that's what got me into metal. It's like you can be yourself. You don't have to apologize for it. To hell with society. To hell with what they expect of you. To hell with what anybody else thinks you should do with your life, time, whatever. Be yourself and be true to who you are.
Music has such an impact that it can de-stress a lot of, like, even heavy metal people listen to de-stress. Like, I feel good.
Of course.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. See, heavy metal is the most like visceral type of music. It's like, I feel least pretentious. Any movie montage where somebody is like training or doing something aggressive, like metal music or like rock music sort of matches that because it's
intensity.
Yeah, you can't be lifting dumbbells and be listening to whoa. Like,
but there are people who do.
There are people who do. Yeah, everybody has their choice.
Black Sabbath, one of the pioneers of the genre, they came from Birmingham, which is an industrial town.
Yeah.
And they were like factory workers. That's how Tommy Iommi actually sawed off 2 of his fingers in an accident.
Yeah.
So it's actually always been like the working class music. It's been of those who are, like forgotten by society and like looked down upon, and that's kind of where it's actually come from. And which is strange because in India it's like this
It's
middle
the upper class
like,
guy.
guys who are like, well fed and well taken care of. What are you angry about? What are you rebelling against? But we all have our own battles and our own demons. So everyone relates to music in their own way.
All teenagers are angry, so it's
Yeah.
या मम्मी ने बोला स्टडी करो और नहीं स्टडी करना है तो
हाँ.
जाके हेड बैंग करो.
The music for a musician might end up taking the backseat because of circumstances, but at the same time, music is the thing that everybody goes to, no matter where you are, what class you belong to. You have something in terms of music for you to feel better. Even like I remember from the rickshaws having speakers to now when you are traveling, you see everybody has earphones plugged in to some extent. And it's quite interesting to have a curated lineup
everybody
of
has that bubble, no? Which they
हाँ,
have.
like your
The-
playlist
that
is your
records.
bubble
Huh.
to like escape the sounds of the city. Okay, today I need to be listening to this, that, and that makes the journey that much more easier to deal with. You have, from
I think I had one question.
Yeah.
Ki, now you mentioned how many of these they are balancing their band, they are taking care of their family. So, in case of rockers who've got not rockers, metalheads, is that the correct term?
Yeah, metalheads,
metalheads.
rockers, all the
Want
same.
I don't know. I don't know
politically
that
correct
terminology.
Metalheads.
but like in case of bands who've like, now this happens with comedians a lot. They have a kid, and then like their comedy changes, it goes into a different lane and whatnot. Are there examples of bands where like a member has got a kid, and then the music goes in a different direction, a more interesting direction? Does that happen?
No, I
It's-
haven't seen that yet.
Acha, okay.
I think when you're a metal musician and even if you have a family, generally a metal is so far removed
Yeah.
from it,
Huh.
it doesn't happen. I mean, there are more chances of that musician stopping playing music
Oh, God.
from
Yeah.
having a kid
Yeah.
than it really changing their band's music.
Huh. Okay.
Because first of all, there are very few bands that have been around long enough that have members who have kids.
Acha, okay. Huh.
That's the other thing. And also, I mean, musical evolution is natural for all bands. So I don't know if you can necessarily attribute it to the kids.
Huh. Okay.
Like maybe if they went from playing, like I want to kill your mother to Sharky do 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 do,
Yeah.
then it would be okay. You
Yeah.
can say
He's
that's a-
definitely taken a turn there.
yeah. But if it's just like a slight shift in sound, that could just be their general
okay.
kind of evolution as a band. Like Bhayanak Moth, for example.
Okay.
They're still heavy, but their new sound is kind of different from what they were doing.
Acha.
Yeah.
But they had a vocalist change,
Huh.
They anyway were experimenting with sort of different sounds on the last album. So there looks to be sort of a natural evolution, and I wouldn't attribute it to any of the members having kids.
Huh.
Although only one member has kids, as far as I know. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about food a bit. I mean, you share, or rather, I realize that we both have a shared love of pork. You did a whole series where you utilized bacon as an ingredient, and that was pretty interesting to me. I mean, it was like a chapter in a book where I was like, where was this page before? Nobody told me, yeah, I can just use it as an ingredient to garnish. Maybe, things like to add that taste to it. What brought that on, and how was that experiment as such? Like the first couple of experiments of adding bacon or adding pork to dishes.
So this, you can say the seed of the idea was sparked back before I even started the YouTube channel. Epic Meal Time.
Huh.
100% have to give it to them. They put bacon on everything.
Yeah.
In fact, they had a t-shirt that just had bacon, 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 bacon written all over it. So I think I was just trying new things on the channel, and I was like, why don't I just like take Indian dishes and put bacon in them? Because, so I told you, Indian food is rather alien to me.
Yeah.
I mean, when I say rather alien, it's not my jam. It's not something I will order at a restaurant. It's not a restaurant I will visit. And even at home, in fact, now I don't think I eat any Indian food at all.
Okay.
I ate maybe dal chawal growing up and roti sabzi for lunch.
Huh.
But our dinner was always, roast chicken, pasta, tuna salad, sandwiches, etc. So I was like, I needed to learn how to cook Indian food when I started having international guests on the show.
Okay.
And I was like, while it is great that I like international food, it would be more interesting to feed them Indian food.
Correct.
So I started learning how to cook Indian food. And I was like, why don't I just try doing something interesting with Indian food that I will enjoy? And the bacon craze was at its peak at that time, because I was making and selling bacon bombs as well.
Okay.
Oh.
For like 2-3 years, I made and sold bacon bombs on the weekend. And I got known as the bacon bomb guy. So I was like, my reputation is all about bacon now. Why don't I do this?
For context, if you don't know, bacon bomb is like it's a bomb of pork mince, seasoned pork mince, which has cheese and jalapenos in it.
No
And it's-
jalapenos. I hate jalapenos.
Okay, it has cheese in it, and it is wrapped with bacon, like a gift wrapping
Like a
with
weave.
bacon
It's basically a
and
stuffed
barbecue
pork
sauce, and it's
meatloaf,
all
yeah.
baked, and it's insane. It's
Yeah.
insane.
So I made it for Bhayanak Moth on the second episode, and it was called the Bhayanak Bacon Bomb.
Okay.
So, yeah. So basically, because of that, the bacon was at its peak, the bacon
Yeah.
craze, and I just sort of thought of this idea. I called up my brother and my cousin, who were both budding filmmakers and directors, assistant directors, DOP, whatever.
Hmm.
They've done it also. I was like, "Can you guys come and shoot this?" I said, "Okay." So we did it, and it was a really fun series. We did 8 episodes, and now I've been repurposing old content, so that's why it's popping up on everyone's feed again. And I just figured, maybe I could bring it back if there's enough interest in it.
What was your first taste of bacon? Like, you remember that? Like, when was the first time you tried bacon? Like, as a kid, you must have tried it.
But now that you
Did
mentioned
well.
it, I actually remembered where I've been eating bacon as a kid. Because my family used to go to China Garden and order bacon wrapped prawns.
Oh.
So I have for sure been eating bacon as a kid. But I know my mom very rarely bought bacon home. So we never cooked it at home because in those days fat is bad for you.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
you need to eat it like... So we had ham all the time in the house, sausages. But bacon was like when you go out you eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pizza also with bacon, for sure.
Oh, yes.
And I'm talking about the old Pizza Express open house. I
Huh.
don't know if you guys remember, like there used to be open house for pizzas
Okay.
and burgers, like way back when.
Oh.
Yeah, so now all the bacon memories are coming back to me a little bit.
It's like
When you say
that.
open house. What does that mean?
It was a restaurant name.
Oh, acha,
It
acha.
was on Linking Road,
Hmm.
and there was one in town also. They were like one of the first places to do burgers and pizzas,
Hmm.
which now, of
Okay.
course, every second place does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, now you're starting to see those places crop up where they're doing like good burgers. Like we are doing our own patty, our own bread, and all of that.
In
That's
Bombay
starting
and
out
Goa,
now.
Like good food, like the scene has really exploded. Like earlier, I'm sure there were places, but now,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
really chef-run restaurants are
Hmm.
becoming more of a thing. Even
People who
uh,
have their own
compared
like,
to
I think
This is
with all
us.
the reality TV, these
yeah,
the
Master
chefs
Chef
have
is
also
probably one-
gotten
yes.
they are the rock stars of the cooking
Yes.
world. No?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
It's
earlier, you
become
never
cooler.
knew which person was like cooking your food. Like there was no
Hmm.
importance
Yes.
given to the chef in the sense that like
Yes.
he wasn't the personality behind the restaurant.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, if like a chef has left a restaurant,
it's a big deal.
you're like, oh man, the food will not be as good. And
Yeah.
many restaurants have fallen apart after the
Hmm.
head chefs have
Yeah.
left.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we
yeah.
had an experience at
Yeah.
the place that we
Even not
eat
just
when
like any normal restaurant also that
Yeah.
you're a regular at. You go there one day and you taste the same dish and you're like, oh, somebody got
different.
fired or somebody quit. Now
we
it's
actually asked the captain, na?
once we ask, did this happen? Like, is the
Chef different?
chef
Yeah.
different?
And,
And-
he hung his face and like, yes.
Yeah. Many restaurants this has happened.
Hmm.
So over your entire journey with food, like what has your relationship with food been like? Because you started off, I think, just cooking, like being a
Yeah.
home chef, just exploring. Then you went into a keto phase,
Hmm.
and now, if I'm not mistaken, you're no longer following the keto lifestyle.
Yep, that is.
So
correct.
what has been like? It's been a good like 7-8 years, all through those phases.
Yeah, like you said, it was cooking for bands earlier.
Yeah.
Kind of got fed up with that, so I was like, because again, that was a big production. There was like, we would move the stove into my living room, move the gas cylinder, set up lights. Hopefully nobody would ring the bell. Then I have to tell my mother to stop talking on the phone loudly. Tell my dad to stop doing something. And it was a lot of work. Like a whole day would go moving this, that. I was like, I'm going to shoot alone, edit myself, one camera, make it work. And I started doing stuff. I was on the keto diet. I could not make cauliflower into pizza and not upload it. I was so
Yeah.
fascinated.
Yeah.
And it just took off then because, I filled a void in the internet for keto recipes, which was open. Keto was becoming huge and there weren't very many channels that were like really killing it with the recipes. And my videos were of decent quality. My recipes tasted fairly good, I was told.
Yeah.
And it just exploded and it kind of became my job making YouTube videos, and I'd built a keto following. And look, I did it for as long as I could, but I went on, I went off, I couldn't sustain it. And eventually I was like, guys, I'm not keto anymore, but I'll keep making the keto recipes. Channel took a bit of a hit. I continued for as long as I could. When I finally realized it made no difference what I was uploading, the views were still not as good as earlier. I said, look guys, I'm just going to make whatever I want and we'll see where it goes. So back in that spot now.
But what was your experience with the ketogenic diet? I mean, the sustainable part of it. Every diet has that thing. Like you see a couple of different systems come into the normal discussion. Like I remember when I was a kid, Atkins diet was the thing where I remember my parents having a discussion about it. So like, oh yeah, for your generation it was Atkins, and then slowly things changed and evolved, and the ketogenic diet came into discussion, where you're basically your body starts utilizing fat instead of glucose as fuel.
Yes.
But in order for it to start doing that and for it to keep on doing that, there's a specific way you need to curtail your intake. And
Yeah, you basically cut down on the carbs.
Okay.
Which means no breads, no pastas, no potatoes, no starchy vegetables.
oh,
So you're largely eating meat, fat and low carb vegetables.
okay,
And if like berries, that's the only fruit you can really eat.
Okay.
So again, like with diets, like you say, they come and go, they have, peaks and valleys. And the thing with keto is it does work for weight loss. And the thing is, it's not really a weight loss diet. Weight loss is one of the effects of keto. Keto was originally sort of developed for epileptic patients, and it does help with that.
okay.
Today, it has also been known to help people with a lot of autoimmune issues, to reverse diabetes if they have type 2 diabetes, and assorted things. And like with most diets, these effects are a result of people changing from a really terrible eating habit to something that's better.
Yeah.
So again, with most people, they love food. Food is everywhere. It's hard to give up everything, social occasions, whatever
Yeah.
the reason. So a lot of people go off the diets when they can't sustain. For a lot of people who found this diet to be life-changing, to be a lifesaver, they can stick with it. It's like how a vegetarian doesn't eat meat.
Yeah.
How a Jain manages to survive without eating garlic and onions.
Yeah.
Someone who's keto and their life depends on it, they find a way without carbs.
Yeah.
So for those who are doing it long term, it's their lifestyle now. For those who tried it, realized they love bread and rice and all too much, they gave it up.
Oh,
You know?
starch is so good, man. For like me to go ketogenic, a doctor will have to tell me with a very serious face, Gaurav, you're literally dying quickly. Okay, like just stop. Like a week, 2 weeks, just try it out.
No, but the thing is, honestly, like you can lose weight on any diet.
Yeah.
You can be healthy on pretty much any diet.
Yeah.
It all depends on how balanced is your diet.
True.
There are people who did keto and did it badly and they had health issues. There are people who turned vegan and had all sorts of health complications and they stopped eating vegan. There are people who eat carnivore. I mean, there's like, you name it, there's a diet.
Yeah,
A
actually.
lot of these diets, like the carnivore diet also, is supposed to have a lot of positive effects on certain lifestyle diseases or certain hormonal health.
diseases,
Huh.
So I think weight loss ऐसा चीज़ है कि if it's a byproduct of any diet, weight loss is such an attractive sort of benefit for the masses that it quickly gets adopted for that, but it might
Yeah.
not be why it was originally meant. Like
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Also, we must very put into perspective is a lot of these diets are eliminating literally everything.
Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily the carnivore diet is the right diet. It's just that when you've literally removed everything else,
Yeah, you're cutting out on sugar,
you've cut out everything, so you don't know what is actually
contributing.
contributed to it. You just assume that it's the carnivore diet because
Yeah.
so that's what happens with a lot of people. And then there's this again, like I said, keto had that keto best for weight loss, best for everything. Then now those who have got their lifestyle are stuck in it. There are keto products, this, that. Now carnivore suddenly the next big thing.
Yeah.
Carnivore will also go down.
Yeah.
Some point somebody will get some disease, this, that, they'll quit carnivore, and you'll have 10 reasons why I quit carnivore.
Yeah.
What I learned after quitting carnivore. This happened with vegan,
Yeah.
keto, paleo, you name it.
Yeah.
So this is a cycle of diets, and it's going to keep continuing from like there'll always be a new diet every few years.
So I
Yeah,
think
and I do a lot of reading on like this stuff. So mainly, a lot of these diets are actually based on stuff that you, like you said, you cannot eat, like you don't eat. So if you want to improve your health, more importantly than eating like healthy food, is like you should stop eating certain foods, like maybe like refined vegetable oils or sugar or whatever. Like the first step for health should always be like stop eating certain stuff. Then like it's usually looked at the other way around. So.
Also, with every diet, if you're just equating it only to one consequence, and that is weight loss, you're not really looking at what impact it has on your body also. A lot of people don't. When it comes to discussion of diet, you see that there's a huge amount of superficial attraction to the idea of any diet, for that matter, because everybody wants to jump to the end result very quickly.
I think the problem is there's so many like some people just have no control. They need that sort of like I can't eat this, then I'm fine, you know. Also people are so focused with that number on the scale, they don't know whether they're losing muscle or water or fat. So you see all these people who have lost like 14-15 kilos and they look so like corpses. They're not built any muscle, they've just lost muscle and fat and water, and the moment they get back to normal eating, you know, it's gone. So I think diets, the word diet itself is short term. You know, if you're a athlete and you need to drop weight, then maybe diets make sense. I think for the normal person, people need to focus on making lifestyle changes, healthy lifestyle changes that they can actually sustain till the day they die. That is actually what's going to help them lose weight, maintain the weight loss, and not look like they've just been dehydrated, you know, with a dehydrator.
So how has that changed for you, your understanding of food a lot? Like it has changed after you did the keto diet and you got into the science of it a lot more?
I mean, definitely, like I had like because of keto, I've just been learning and watching and just soaking in all the info, but like most of it is just changing constantly. That's one thing I've learned, which is what I've said, is like even on my channels, like there's no one diet that fits everybody, you know,
forever.
Like the science itself is evolving, and that's why I think like moderation is probably the best thing. You know, also food is so much more than just like some people, they eat to live. I live to eat. So, you know, I want to taste all the food in the world. I want to enjoy myself. And you can only do that if you sort of build it into your lifestyle. You know, otherwise you're just like constantly going back and forth between diets and, you know, trying to put on weight, lose weight, gain weight, this, that. So I just prefer like a more holistic approach now to the entire food and diet thing.
Some marketing gimmicks are such that you tend to fall for these terminologies that are created.
Yeah, I mean that's a problem in food anyway. Advertising, you know, the cool terms, organic, hormone free, like all this stuff. I mean, it's just I just stop caring now. Like I just go and eat whatever the hell I want. At the end of the day, you're going to die one way or another. I think the air pollution in Bombay will kill me before anything in my food does.
Any day. You'll have a respiratory problem before anything else.
Yeah, like I mean, unless like someone's giving you a cyanide-soaked carrot or something, you're really not going to have any, you know, major issues in life, I think.
As long as you don't see a sticker which says unorganic, it's all right. Like, you know, as long as that doesn't exist, it's all cool. All of this cooking was never, I as a kid have not had that intent or desire or even the chance to cook, so as to speak. Like it was not like a cool thing to...
Yeah, and especially here, I think most people are just used to mom or, you know, cook coming and like they just...
Yeah, you are not encouraged to cook as well. Like try it out, or like basic stuff is fine. Breakfast is...
I used to find it very weird when people told me like I don't cook my own breakfast or I don't make my own tea or coffee or whatever, because ever since I was a kid, I used to always make my own like tea, coffee and breakfast. I used to find it so weird, but like everyone else is like, mom makes, maid makes, somebody makes.
And when you start making, you realize, oh, there is a lot of fun to be had if you don't look at it as a chore and if you enjoy it. Honestly, I mean, from the cutting of the vegetables to, you also realize the scale of work that goes into making food. That it's not, because when you're just eating, it's so easy. Like eating is the easiest part of the whole
Yeah,
process.
you have no idea. Like, there's that one bite, especially at fine dine restaurants, you get that one bite,
Yeah.
and that's like some 30 hours has gone into making that one bite that you just finish in like 1 second.
Yeah, you don't know, but the moment you start cooking, trying to put in even a little bit of effort, you realize, oh yeah, all of that complaining.
I think the pandemic also made everyone a cook because like at
Oh,
one
yeah.
point like everything was shut. You had no option but to like
Yeah.
cook.
Yeah, it was a bit sad to think that it took a whole global pandemic for people to like kitchen में जाके देखते रहे क्या है, open up that cabinet.
There's fire over there apparently.
Yeah. There's a huge amount of comparison that is always done between chefs and rock stars, right? Like big well-known chefs always have
Celebrity chefs.
celebrity chefs.
Now it's become a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's become a thing with all of the reality TV shows where chefs are looked at as, the new age rock star, so as to speak. Outspoken and bratish, and then telling somebody you're worth nothing in a kitchen.
Throwing.
So
the
Gordon Ramsay
fish,
basically.
Yeah. Gordon Ramsay, at least, he's entertaining.
Who was the
He
one before
started
him?
it.
God
There
damn.
was
Marco Pierre
Pierre
White.
White.
But Marco
Yeah.
Pierre was never yelling on TV, no? He
No,
was
no.
always in those nor
Stoic
recipe videos.
this,
Yeah.
Today we're going to use the beef stock cube.
No,
Yeah.
but before that, I
A
think he was
splash of
very
olive
famous
oil.
for being. He was very notorious for being.
But that was in his restaurant.
Yeah.
And Gordon Ramsay had worked with him.
Worked under him, yeah.
Yeah.
And
But Gordon was like the first TV chef.
yeah.
Like before Raghu Ram came on Roadies, there was
Yeah.
Gordon
Yeah.
Ramsay
Gordon
shouting
Ramsay.
at people.
Yeah.
He had started off that thing of and what a great celebrity pivot if you think about it, like to distinguish yourself from all of the other characters that you'll ever see on TV, and you won't even feel like you're compromising. In fact, you will always feel more comfortable, like I'm just speaking my mind and that's the way I'm going to do it. If I don't feel like I'm going to call it shit, like this is...
But you should see Gordon Ramsay dealing with kids.
But now he's
It's
very
like a
chill.
cred,
He's
yeah,
become
yeah, yeah.
very
Yeah.
chill.
He's
Like,
very
he
calm.
doesn't need to be angry anymore because there are
Yeah.
enough other people being angry.
Yeah.
Now he's flipped it.
I mean, he's still on MasterChef US and Hell's Kitchen. Hell's Kitchen, he's still like...
Because that's the line
That's
cook
the
show,
whole...
no?
Yeah. I mean, and that is the premise of the show.
Yeah.
Get Gordon angry.
Yeah. Dude, Kitchen Nightmares used to be fun. Kitchen Nightmares
Yeah.
and Hotel
Oh,
Nightmares
yeah.
used to be fun to watch.
I don't know how. Like, sometimes I just like get palpitations watching that show. Yeah.
That show is... I had a phase where I was just tripping on Kitchen Nightmares for a very long time.
It's like a Sasbo show with a business. Like it's
Yeah.
both. It's got...
And sometimes you can hear the pain in Gordon Ramsay's voice where he's like, what are you doing? Like he can't comprehend. He can't wrap his
Worst
head
is when he
around.
pulls out dirt and rotten food. That is the worst part of the show.
Oh, yeah.
He'll use his hands like, look at this muck.
Is that the show where he goes to a restaurant and a
And
hotel
he's
Yeah.
and he
a
like
struggling restaurant
evaluates?
and he evaluates and tries to make them successful once
And
again.
usually most of these like on the brink of closing down and he's been called in to like
Fix it.
fix it.
But turns out like diets, like after a year the hotels
They go back
revert
to the old.
Yeah.
Many of them have either sold or shut or
Yeah.
gone back to old practice. It's hard, yeah. Like unless you have someone monitoring you and like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that reminds me, have you seen Bear?
I saw Bear.
How did
What
you...
a great show.
Must show.
Especially
Great show.
episode 7.
Oh yeah, the one take show.
The,
Yeah.
that
One
was
take
just
one. Yeah.
Amazing.
again another show that get nervous watching.
Yeah, it is an anxiety-ridden show.
Anxiety
When you
inducing
watch.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Because you tend to get a handle over the level of pressure that people working in a kitchen deal with. And as far as your HeadBangers Eats page is concerned, the Burger Wars was something that you did recently. What is the other thing that you're excited about, something that people can look forward to? You working on something at the moment that you're like, oh, this is a dish apart from...
Yeah, so I am working on lots of stuff, but for HeadBanger Eats, the next one has to be Pizza Wars.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Because everyone's been asking for that.
Are you going like, are you doing like a crust thing, like thin versus the normal one? Because would deep dish feature in this? I
So
don't...
what restaurants are you looking
Yeah,
at?
so this is a challenge to figure out. I'm still sort of brainstorming because one thing for sure, I am not including all pizza restaurants in Bombay because one, it's likely to be close to 100. I cannot sit through 100 bad pizzas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, not possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and like Does Shivsagar count for pizza? Does Domino's count? Like what? So for me, I think the idea is to shortlist first of all pizza places,
Okay.
and then yes, do some kind of division by crust as well. Because how do you compare a Detroit style to a Naples or to a New York? You know, so it's going to take some tweaking. Also, you know, unlike Burger Wars, I realized that YouTube is not a multi-episodic platform.
Okay.
Doing 9 episodes is overkill.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, so it has to be like a 3 or 4 episode show. So we will figure out, maybe there'll be like 3 episodes of just, or maybe 1 episode of Naples pizzas, 1 episode of thin crust pizzas, 1 episode of deep dish and Detroit style pizzas, and like kind of wrap it in that space.
Yeah.
And we'll do some online voting to shortlist, like, you know, maybe 5 or 6 pizza places, and then have them battle it out.
Okay.
Did you see the Chef's Table pizza series?
I haven't. I've seen the Chef's Table series, but not the pizza
They've
series.
done one only dedicated to pizzas.
Pizza like a season.
Oi.
It's nuts. We don't watch it now because every time me and my wife sit down to watch it, we end up ordering a pizza.
Yeah, Chef's Table has done that. A lot of food.
The same thing happens to me when I watch the pizza show on.
On YouTube.
Yeah. It's that Best Pizza ka owner
Okay.
from New York.
Yeah, he
Okay.
goes around trying different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just bad news sometimes to just watch food stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the other reason diets don't work.
Yeah.
Because not only do you get tempted by shows,
Then there's a Zomato ad.
the app is there. You don't need
Yeah.
to even get an ad for Zomato. You just, your fingers automatically ordering the pizza before you know it.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot. Like if I've seen hot ones, I want to eat wings.
I
If
legit got this Zomato notification. Feeling low today? Question
Yeah.
mark order. Like, subscribe. Like what the fuck?
Yeah,
What the fuck?
and they're pushing it. The copywriters for
It's
these
crazy.
things, these apps, they're pushing it because once they were like, "Do you feel a hole inside? You let us fill it. I'll also fill it with cheesecake." What is?
Have to turn notifications off.
Yeah, like you're trying to sell me sugar as a answer for my existential crisis. How is that working, dude? Fill the hole with cheesecake.
One question I had about creating content for YouTube and all. So you had the keto series ka recipes and you had like Burger Wars, Pizza Wars. How do you sort of go about saying, okay, now this is going to be a show or this is going to be a video? What is kind of like your way of figuring out how to come up with a video idea?
I have no particular way of doing it. It's just whatever pops into my head by things that I'm watching or something I experience. There's no formula for it, man. Unfortunately, YouTube is like again, another anxiety-inducing job. So it's just constantly like thinking and brainstorming, what can I do? So, I kind of had the bacon tadka idea. So now I've got some ideas based on butter chicken because butter chicken is super popular.
Yeah.
Sometimes I take feedback that I get from my audience as well. I love to do like interactive polls and ask them, what recipes do you want or what kind of videos are you looking forward to? And sometimes you get ideas from there. Sometimes it's just watching other food channels, like Bon Appetit, BuzzFeed, this, that. And you get ideas like, maybe I should do an Indian version of this,
Oh yeah, like at 3 different price points they had.
Yeah,
that
worth
show.
it,
Yeah, worth it. Before we wrap up the episode, Sahil, anything you wish to plug?
Yeah.
All of your channels, please go ahead.
Definitely. If you like cooking and food, do check out HeadBanger's Kitchen on YouTube. If you like eating, like I do, check out HeadBanger Eats on YouTube. And both my musical projects, Demonic Resurrection and DemonStealer, can be found on all digital music streaming services. Also on YouTube and on my Bandcamp pages. So, yeah, that's it.
Check him out, guys. If you liked the episode, if you've enjoyed our conversation, please do press the subscribe button. Would help us out quite a lot. Like and share it with your friends as well. That's it. See you at the next episode. Bye-bye. This always seems like a TV show moment. The intro and the end. It's always where you have to